or like whatever you want to name it. And then we're going to double click and then delete everything. So as you remember to like type code in, you need this statement like this. And basically in Java, to make an if statement, you just do if, and then these parentheses. And inside the parentheses, this is our condition. So this is basically like what the program checks to be true or false. So let's first make like a Boolean. So you can do like Boolean happy is equal to true. So in these parentheses, we want to put a Boolean in here. So we can put like if happy. So happy is what the program checks. So like in this case, I set it equal to true. And then in here, like inside the if statement, this is where our decision will be made. So we can like do system.out.println parentheses like yay, because you're happy. So that's how you make an if statement. And just to reiterate, whatever you put inside the parentheses is what the code checks. So in this case, happy is true. So because this condition is true, then this decision will be made, which will be like, yay. So if you compile it, click compile, and you go here, and you right click, you click void main string, blah, 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 click OK. And so it prints this statement out because we told it to. But if we make this false, then happy will be false and this won't run. Basically, like nothing will run. So if we click compile, nothing is, click compile and click this, nothing is going to pop up. See, like blank. Yeah. So, oops. Okay.
Yep, so I'll remind you that Boolean is the last type of variable we were talking about last week. So it stores either true or false. So that's mostly what's going to be inside the parentheses of your if statement.
Yeah, and I forgot to do example, but basically like an else statement is like if this statement isn't true, then the else statement will run. So like if we're not hungry, then we'll just play Animal Crossing.
Okay, so there are even more layers you can add to your if statement. So if we look at this example, it's a lot like before. So like if hungry is true, then you're going to eat pizza. But then remember how we talked about else statements. So if the first statement is not true, then else you're going to do another action. So there's a slight variation of that we can use. So if you're hungry, then you eat pizza. But if you're not hungry, else if you're tired, then you take a nap. So basically, if the first statement and if your first if statement isn't true, it's going to move on to the next statement, which here is marked by else. Then it's going to check if that's true. And if that's true, then it's going to do the action that's inside of the second statement. So take a nap. And then if neither of those are true, then it's just going to go to the catch-all else statement, and it's going to run play Animal Crossing. So an else if statement is basically just like an if statement, but the compiler only looks at it if the first statement that comes before it is not true. And then you can add like a ton of other else if statements all in a row for different conditions. And there are lots of different ways you can play around with this.
Yeah, so, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so before we give an example for all of that, there are also a lot of operator symbols or operations that you can use inside your if statement. So instead of just having a Boolean value that's either true or false, then instead you can put like a statement inside of your if statement, a statement inside of your parentheses. So for example, if 7 is greater than 6, that's true. So then the if statement is going to run. So there are lots of different like sentences or statements or claims that you can put inside the parentheses of your if statement, and they're going to use at least one of these operators. So the first one is a greater than sign, and the second one's a less than sign. And you can use this just as you used them in math class. They're pretty self-explanatory. Same thing for the third and fourth one. It's a greater than or equal to sign, and a less than or equal to sign. So you're going to use these for numbers, basically exactly the same way that you learn in math. And then I think it would be easier to go to the sixth one, which is the double equal sign. So that's going to be basically if two numbers are equal to each other. So if 6 equals 6, then the if statement is going to run. That might not make very much sense, but for example, if there are two variables that are storing different values, and those values are always changing, then the if statement is going to happen if those two variables hold the same value. And you're going to check that with the double equal sign. And that's going to be, yeah?
Oh. Sorry, just to give an example, like if x is equal to 0, or like if 5 is equal to 5, like what Alex said. So.
Yep. So yeah, you could also just do it with one variable. So like if x equals 5, then the if statement is going to happen. So it's really important to remember to use a double equal sign here instead of an equal sign, because in Java, just one equal sign always means that you're creating a variable. You're assigning a value to a variable. So you don't want to do that. To compare things, you always use two equal signs. And then the exclamation point basically just means not, opposite. It's not equal to each other. So you can put an equal sign, you can put an exclamation point before an equal sign, and that basically just means if 5 is not equal to 6, then the if statement runs. Something like that. Do you just want to do examples for that right now, for the numbers?
Okay, we can do an example with if and else statements. So I'm going to create two variables, int x equals 3 and int y is equal to 66, sure, okay. And I want to compare if x is greater than y, let's say. Oops. And then like parentheses, and then these brackets. And inside here, we're going to indent and say our statement like system.out.println x is greater than y. We can also have this else statement, like else, well, first we can check if, like, else if, okay, sorry. So first we can check if x is greater than y, and then we can also use an else statement. Let's just like assume that x is less than y. So we can do system.out.println x is less than y. So what the else statement does is if this is not true, then else it will do this. So if we compile it and go back to our box and right click, second option, and then you go to this thing, it will say x is less than y because 3 is less than 66. But what if, like, for example, x is equal to y? So let's say y is equal to 3. Then in here, we also need an else if statement. Else if x is equal to y. Because x is not greater than y, so this is false, but x is also not less than y. They're equal to each other, so we need like another option to account for when x is equal to y. So we can do system.out.println x is equal to y. And so now if we run it, it will say x is equal to y. And for the not symbol, not means like negate. So like we can also change this if x is not equal to y, then we can say x is not equal to y. So the not is like it negates something. So if something is true, if you do not true, it will give you false. And if something's not false, it'll give you true. Yeah, and not equals just means not equals. So if we compile it, it'll like give us x is equal to y because we didn't change it. Yeah, and there are also more operators. Alex.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Okay. So, sometimes in coding, you don't want to just compare two numbers. Instead, you want to compare two sentences or two words. And so you're going to use strings to store those values. So, we can't just do two equal signs to compare two strings and tell if they're exactly equal to each other. Instead, we're going to use the dot equals parentheses operation. So, I guess it'll be easier to show you later how exactly syntax for that. But just remember that when you're comparing two strings, you're going to use the dot equal statement, and basically it's going to, when you use that, it's going to check that your two strings are exactly equal to each other. So the same capital letters, this exactly the same letters in the same order, all the spaces are exactly where they are in the other one, and like it basically has to be exactly the same. And then what if you want to get even more specific with your if statement, and you want something to happen only if two conditions are happening at the same time. So there you're going to use a double and symbol. I don't know exactly what you call this, but it's the and symbol. You're going to use two of them, and then basically, as you can see on the right over here, you can basically have two statements inside if parentheses, and combine them with two and symbols. And your if statement is only going to run if both of those are true. Not if only one is true, not if they're false, only if both of the statements are true. And then, maybe you want to do something else. Maybe you want your if statement to be kind of broad. If this happens, or if this happens. So one of two conditions happens. So in that case, you're going to use these two lines. On my
They're like
keyboard,
shift above, shift and then above the enter keyword.
yeah, on my keyboard, it's the key below backspace and above enter, and you shift.
Yeah.
I also don't know what these are called. I just call them lines. So basically, if you put two of them in between two statements in your if parentheses, it basically acts as the word or. So your if statement is going to take place if one or the other of the statements is true, if that makes sense.
So like if x is equal to 15, then this statement is true, but this statement x is greater than 40 is false, but it'll still run. And likewise, if x is like 60, this statement will be true, but this will be false, and it'll still run. But what if like both of these are like not true, which I don't think is it possible. But like if both of these statements are not true, then this won't run. But for the and, then both of these need to be true.
Yeah, so with the or, it'll be okay if only one of the statements is true, but with and, both of them have to be true. Like Andrea said, just reiterating.
Yeah, also Alex said it too. But I think that's it for our slides. So we can do like another example. So like in here, I have two integers, right, x and y. And we can change our if statement to be like, if, let's do an and symbol. So we can do if x is less than y and x is greater than 0. So like both of these need to be true in order for this to run. So we can say in here, x is less than y and is a positive number. So yeah, that's what this condition, like it needs to be true. And or we can, if we want to do like an or statement, we can do else if x is less than 0, or x is less than y. So we can say x is either a negative number or x is less than y. So only one of these need to be true and this will run.
Does someone want to tell us if the first if statement is true or false? If it's going to run? Michelle, do you have a guess? It doesn't have to be right, but like just look at it and tell us if you think it's going to run.
So here we have x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 3. So yeah.
So for the first if statement, x is not less than y since both of them are 3. And so since the first part of the if statement is false already, then that if statement's just not going to. Yeah, exactly. Like you said in the chat.
And will this statement be run? If 3 is less than 0, which is not true, so this part is false. And if 3 is less than 3, that's also false. So this part won't run and neither will this part. So we'll resort to the else statement with like both of these if and else if are false. So then it'll just default to the else statement, which we can say x is equal to y. And so if we compile it and go back to our box here, and then you right click this second option, and then it'll pop out the answer, which says x is equal to y. Do you guys have any questions? Are you confused? Do you want us to clarify anything?
Just to reiterate, you need to be extra careful with the second statement here, the else if statement, because it's using an or. So just because the first part of the if statement is false doesn't mean the whole thing is false, because if the second part was true, that's an or. So that is true. So the whole thing is just going to be true and it's going to run. So just be careful about that. So yeah, if no one has any questions, do you want to maybe do an example with a string?
Oh yeah, okay. So we can create like a string variable. So we can do string object equals to pencil. And then we can have string object2 equals to pencil. And we can compare these. I'm just going, actually, I'll just leave this here if you guys like want to copy it down. But to compare strings, we would just do, so first you want to compare two things, right? So we put like the first thing we need to compare, and then dot equals, and then in these parentheses, the second thing we want to compare. So in this case, it's object2. So in here we have equal sign, and we also need an ending parentheses for our if statement. And then you have these brackets. And in here, we can just say system.out.print, they are equal to each other. So if you want to compile it to test it out, you go back to our box and you right click, click OK, and it'll say they are equal to each other. But Java is also case sensitive. So what that means is if we change this to like capital P and we try to run it, right click, it will, oh, wait, yeah, okay. Then this part is from this, but you guys can see that because pencil is not equal to pencil with a capital P, then this statement it didn't run. So you have to be careful with strings because like it has to be exactly the same as Alex said. And yeah, so for strings, you can compare variables, but you can also do like if object dot equals like yes. So what that does is it compares this, which is pencil, and it sees if pencil is equal to yes. So you can also, instead of a variable, you can also put like an actual string. And if we compile it, it will, okay, wait first. Let me clear it and then I'll compile it. Oh yeah, and it didn't print this statement, but this is from this if statement. So yeah, so that's comparing strings. And remember, if you want to see if numbers are equal to each other, you have to use these double equal signs. And you can do these for ints or doubles, and double is for decimals. And yeah. Do you guys have any questions?
Please feel free to ask questions like at all, even if you think they're dumb. Like that's what we're here for, to answer your questions.
Yeah. I don't know if I lost you guys. Like if like this entire thing is confusing, or like if you don't understand one thing. So can you guys please speak up? Like even if you understand everything, please tell us. Or if you don't understand something, then you can also tell us.
Oh, Andrea, do you want to go over how to compile the code again?
Yes, okay, thank you for asking questions.
Yay,
So
question!
you see this compile thing up here.
Oh, if you get red dots, that's probably because you have an error in your code somewhere. So that would be something with the syntax, maybe. When you go in your code, do you want to see if there are any red lines anywhere? And if there are, you can tell us where they are, and maybe we can try to help you. Like troubleshoot.
Yeah,
This is
so there's like
getting errors.
what?
Niharika, am I pronouncing that right? I really hope I am. So if you have an error like Andrea is showing you,
Like it'll tell you this, or if it's like this logic error, it'll be like a bunch of confusing words that you don't know what it means.
do you think? Okay, I really hope I'm not butchering you guys' names. If I am, like, please tell me. But do you think? Once you compile your code, so like you right click on the brown box and then you click the second option, there should be a window that shows up that, yeah, I got your name right. So there should be a window that pops up that gives you the output, but if it doesn't pop up automatically, kind of like hover over your BlueJ icon on the bottom and like see if it popped up, but it's just hidden, and you need to try looking for it. It should pop up even if it doesn't, even if it is right in front of your face.
Yeah, it's like you have to go here and then like something will pop up. Okay. Is everyone good now? Oh, I'm so stupid. I closed my BlueJ program. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so after you click compile, in order to run your code, you're going to go back to your BlueJ window that has all of your classes from before if you didn't delete them. So like they should all be brown boxes. Yeah, like the one on Andrea's screen.
Right click, and then you click this thing.
It
Void main,
says
and
void
if
main.
it says, yeah, and if it says compile, you also click that. Just always right click your box and click the second option.
Niharika, did you type in like all of the base code at the very beginning of your program? So Andrea, do you want to like highlight the code at the top?
This thing.
Yeah.
Wait, so when you click compile, does it give you any errors?
You want to make sure that you have the public class line and also the yellow line that Andrea is highlighting. That's just gonna like set up your code. Yep.
Yeah.
No problem.
So you need this to like actually run your code. Like if you don't have this, it'll just mess everything up, and it'll probably have these red lines. So you need all this jumbo.
It can be hard to remember in the beginning, especially since you don't really know what it means yet. But as you get a little more advanced, then you'll like learn exactly why it's there and why you type everything. Yeah. I get it's really annoying not knowing exactly, but yeah, that is something important. So if you guys are all good, no questions, no errors, then we're going to move on to a short activity for today.
Yeah, wait, first, do you guys not understand something? Or is it just like new to you and you kind of need to get used to it? Or is there like something that you don't understand?
Or if you ever just need time to catch up, just let us know.
Okay. I think we're going to do like a short mini activity, but we might not finish it. But I'll like try to like at least describe it to you. So we're gonna make this 8-ball program, and if you guys don't know, an 8-ball is just like 8-ball is, well, we're gonna make a modified 8-ball. So yeah.
Andrea, Magic 8 Ball.
Magic 8. Oh yeah, no spaces. Magic ball. I'm just gonna name it that.
So we're basically gonna make a program that simulates a Magic 8 Ball. And like, that's a pretty popular toy. So basically you shake it and it just gives you a random fortune or piece of advice. And so we're going to try to do that with if statements here.
Yeah, so click new class and then name it whatever you want. Click OK. And now you should have this brown box. Does everyone have it?
Cool. Seems like you guys have it.
Okay. And then you right click, sorry, no, you double click it. You double click it and then you delete everything, just delete everything. And then you have to type public static void main and then parentheses and then the string with a capital S. And like this. And well, we also need something what we learned last time. We did scanner, right? So remember, we have to import scanner. So import space java.util.scanner with a capital S.
Remember that
semicolon.
scanner is the thing that lets us get a user's input. So it's kind of like a game.
Yeah. So after we need to create our scanner tool. So you do scanner and then I'm gonna name my input and then equals new scanner and then parentheses system dot.
Andrea, maybe we just want to set up really quickly because Christina wants us to get off the Zoom account in a couple minutes.
Oh, okay. So, okay, we can do that. So first we want to ask our user to enter a number. So enter a number from 1 to 4. And then we want to store our user's response. So it's going to be a number. So I'm going to store it in an int variable, like int response equals to input, which is our scanner, input dot next int, because we're getting an integer response. And then really quickly, we're just going to use an if statement and check if response is equal to 1. So you have to use double equal sign to check if the user entered 1. So if the user entered 1, then we would say something like, you are awesome. And then else if the response is equal to 2, then you can say roll the ball again. And you can put whatever response you want in here. And then we would also do another else if statement, which checks if response is equal to 3. And we would put another statement here.
So that's the basic format of it. If you guys want to go home and play around with it and add different else if statements and lots of fancy things in here, that would be great if you just want to play with it. But unfortunately, we're going to have to end class a little early today.
Also, one more thing to mention, you also need an else statement or else it's going to give you an error. So if you have an if statement and an else if statement, then you need an else statement, which will basically catch all your errors. But in this case, because we need an else statement, this is just when the user picks the number 4. So yeah, you guys, we recorded this lesson, so if you guys can like look back on it, because I know I typed really fast and I spoke really fast, but you guys can watch this video in your own time, and yeah.
Or you can screenshot it now, and so you don't have to watch the whole thing. But yeah. So I'm gonna stop recording.